So this is part 3 of Star Wars The Force Awakens, adapted to the book version by Elizabeth Schaefer, illustrations by Brian Rood, and based on the screenplay by Lawrence Kasdan, J.J. Abrams, and Michael Arndt. So when we last left off, Rey, Finn, and BB-8 had run into Chewie and Han, and the Guavian Death Gang had just shown up. So let's see what happens next. There we go. All right, so here they are, the Guavian Death Gang. The security soldiers of the Guavian Death Gang wear high-impact armor that makes them stand out among other deadly criminals. All right. And these are the Tasu Leech. This is Tasu Leech over here. Leads the notorious Conja Club Gang, an intergalactic criminal organization. But when he reached them, Han saw that the Guavian Death Gang weren't alone. They had brought Conja Club with them. Han had taken money from both gangs to hunt down the Rakhtars, and they wanted their money back. Now. Guys, you're all going to get what I promised, Han said, turning on the charm. Have I ever not delivered for you before? Twice, the leader of Conja Club replied. Nowhere left for you to hide. BB-8 cowered against Han's leg as the men raised their guns. That BB unit, the Guavian Death Gang leader said suddenly. The First Order is looking for one just like it, and 2 fugitives. From the hull of the cargo ship, Rey tried to come up with an escape plan. She looked at the video monitors and suddenly got an idea. If we close the blast doors in that corridor, we can trap both gangs. Quickly, Rey went to work resetting the door fuses. But as Rey crossed 2 wires, all the lights inside the cargo ship went out. Oh no, Rey said, going pale. Wrong fuses. Instead of closing the blast doors, Rey had opened the Rathtar's cages and the ferocious beasts were free. Han and Chewie took advantage of the confusion to take down a few gang members. Cover me, Han shouted to Chewie. I'll get to the Falcon. Rey and Finn were also trying to get back to the Falcon. They raced through corridors, trying to find a way out that wasn't blocked by the terrifying Rakhtars. Suddenly, the pair turned a corner and found themselves face to face with one of the beasts. The creature immediately reached out in a long, slimy tentacle and pulled Finn down the hallway at lightning speed. Finn! Rey cried out. She knew she could never keep up with the Rathtar on foot. Instead, she ran to a control panel where she could follow the Rathtar on the video monitors. As she watched it slither through doorway after doorway, Rey got an idea. She held her hand over the blast door control, waiting for just the right moment, and then blam! Rey closed the blast door right on top of the Rathtar, freeing Finn. She helped Finn to his feet, and together they ran back to the Falcon. While the battle raged on, Han and Chewie were getting closer to the Millennium Falcon. But as they made their way toward the ship, a blast hit Chewie in the shoulder. Han quickly grabbed Chewie's bowcaster and fired at the oncoming gang members, managing to hold them off long enough for everyone to get aboard the Falcon. Move it! Han shouted to Rey and Finn. He pointed to Rey. You shut the hatch behind us. He turned to Finn. You take care of Chewie. Together they raced up the ramp in the Falcon and into the Falcon. Finn led Chewie back to the medbay while Rey and Han took their seats in the cockpit. Watch the thrust. We're going to jump to light speed, Han told Rey. From inside a hangar. Is that even possible? Rey asked. I never asked that question until after I've done it. Together they prepared the Falcon for light speed. Come on, baby. Don't let me down, Han said quietly, then flipped a switch. Nothing happened. What? Han cried, but Rey calmly pressed a button. Compressor, she explained. Han flipped the switch for light speed one more time, and instantly the Falcon shot into hyperspace. Oh, and now we see Princess Leia. But she's a general now. General Leia Organa, unable to muster the help she needed from the New Republic. Leia Organa, ever vigilant against the return of darkness to the galaxy, struck out on her own as the leader of the resistance opposed to the rise of the First Order. And this is C-3PO. A fastidious and worry-prone protocol droid, C-3PO longs for more peaceful times. but his continued service to Princess Leia keeps him on the front lines of galactic conflict. And remember, this protocol droid was one that Anakin Skywalker made, aka Darth Vader, and he gave to his wife, Padme. And when the twins were separated, C-3PO went with Leia. At the Resistance base, General Leia Organa was waiting for any information about the missing map. A young officer named Brant ran to find her and deliver the latest news. General, the Jakku village was wiped out. Lord Santeca was killed. He bowed his head. If they get to Luke first, Leia said grimly, we don't have a chance. Brant went on to say that Poe was missing and there was no word from BB-8. Never underestimate a droid, Leia reminded Brant before he walked away. Leia then turned to her faithful protocol droid C-3PO. Locate BB-8 immediately, she told him. You know what to do. Yes, General, of course, C-3PO replied. The tracking system. Ooh, and here is Starkiller Base. Way bigger than the Death Star. Starkiller Base is an ice planet converted into a stronghold for the First Order and armed with a fiercely destructive new weapon capable of destroying entire star systems. Far away on a planet covered in ice and snow, Kylo Ren and General Hux, the leader of the First Order troops, were brought before their master, Supreme Leader Snoke. The droid will soon be in the hands of the Resistance. This will give our enemy the means to locate Skywalker, thundered the towering figure of cold gray flesh. I do have a proposition, Hux said. The weapon. It is ready. Good, Snoke replied. Oversee preparations. Hux bowed gratefully and left. Snoke then turned to face Kylo. There has been an awakening in the Force, the dark figure warned. Kylo would have an important part to play in the coming conflict. Had Lord Vader not succumbed to emotion at that critical moment, there would be no threat of Skywalker's return today, cautioned Snoke. Kylo's master leaned closer. You will face a test first, one neither of us could foresee. The droid we seek is aboard the Millennium Falcon, once again piloted by Han Solo. My allegiance is with you. No one will stand in our way. Kylo raised his eyes to meet Snoke's. No one. Back on board the Falcon, Han was examining BB-8's map. Ever since Luke disappeared, people have been looking for him. Why'd he leave? Rey asked. Han explained that Luke had been training the next generation of Jedi. One boy, an apprentice, turned against him and destroyed it all. Luke, overcome with guilt, had walked away from everything and everyone. Han agreed to help them get to the Resistance base, but they had to make one stop first. I can't turn the page. The Falcon exited hyperspace above a lush planet called Takodana. The landscape was covered in wide forests and glistening lakes. Rey had never seen so much greenery in her whole life. What are we doing here? Finn asked. They were still a long way from the Resistance base. Getting help, Han replied. You'll see. Han landed the Falcon outside a large stone structure that looked like an ancient castle. While the outside of the building was impressive, it was the interior that made Rey and Finn gasp in amazement. The Great Hall was filled with aliens and humans from every corner of the galaxy. Han Solo! Came a joyful cry from somewhere in the center of the crowded room. Immediately, everyone fell silent and turned toward a short golden alien. She was wearing simple clothes and a giant pair of goggles that magnified her eyes into big blue spheres. Hiya, Maz, Han said with a crooked smile. But Maz's large eyes failed to notice a First Order spy hidden among her guests. As soon as the spy saw Finn and his friends, she sent word to Kylo Ren. Maz provided Han and his friends with food and drink while Han filled her in on their mission. Rey was excited to soon reach the Resistance, but Finn was ready to go his own way. He didn't want to be exposed to the entire resistance as the liar he was, and he didn't want any part in fighting the First Order. It was too powerful. He knew firsthand. Maz told Finn where he could find work on a departing shuttle, but Ray couldn't understand why he wanted to leave. You're part of this fight. We both are. I'm not who you think I am, Finn said sadly. I'm a stormtrooper. I'm not a hero. Ray couldn't believe her ears. How could the kind and brave man she had spent the past few days with possibly be a stormtrooper? And here is Maz Kanata right here. This colorful alien holds court in an ancient castle in Takodana, where she reigns as the most knowledgeable smuggler around, with centuries of experience. She has an uncanny knack for sensing the shifting tides of fortune in the galaxy. Lost in thought, Ray wandered through the vast hallways of the castle. Suddenly, Ray stopped in front of a doorway. A dark stairway beyond seemed to call to her. She was drawn down and down into a cluttered basement room. In the center of the room was an old wooden box. As Ray approached the box, her mind was overwhelmed with visions of Kylo Ren, the First Order, and the destruction that was to come. Then she heard a voice, both familiar and strange. I'll come back, sweetheart. I promise. As quickly as the vision had begun, it stopped, but Ray was no longer alone. Maz was standing patiently behind her. What was that? Ray demanded. It's the Force, Maz replied. Maz tried to explain the destiny that awaited Ray, but Ray was not ready to hear her, not yet. Ray fled the small room looking for somewhere she could be alone. But across the galaxy, Ray's vision was already coming true. General Hux stood before an army of stormtroopers, making a grand speech. Today, he began, is the end. The First Order had finally completed work on the Star Killer. Now they would show the galaxy the power of their mighty weapon. Hux gave the command, and a blast of destruction burned its way across the galaxy, obliterating the entire solar system that held the New Republic Senate. There was now no one left but the Resistance to stand against the First Order. Even on Takodana, Han, Chewie, and Finn saw the beam from the Star Killer reaching across the stars. The First Order! They'd gone and destroyed it, Finn said in disbelief. Then his mind snapped to something even more important to him. Where's Ray? Ray is where she needs to be, Maz assured him. She led the trio back to the basement room where Ray had experienced her vision. Maz opened the wooden box and pulled out a lightsaber. Where'd you get that? Asked Han. Long story, Maz replied. A good one, for later. Then she handed the lightsaber to Finn. Uh-oh. A terrifying rumble shook the castle to its foundations. The spy had brought Kylo Ren and his soldiers to Takodana. Transports filled the sky as stormtroopers began landing nearby and firing on the castle. Han knew they had to get back to the Falcon, but first they had to find Rey and BB-8. Han, Chewie, and Finn fought their way outside, dodging blaster fire. Meanwhile, Rey was busy avoiding stormtroopers herself. Keep going, she shouted to BB-8. I'll fight 'em off. Rey managed to take down a few stormtroopers with her blaster, but then she heard the menacing hum of Kylo Ren's lightsaber. He had found her. Tell me, girl, Kylo growled, where is the droid I seek? Rey fired her blaster at the shadowy figure, but Kylo deflected the shots with his red lightsaber. Kylo drew closer and closer to Rey, reaching out with the Force to read her mind. As he searched her thoughts, Kylo discovered his goal was nearer than he had realized. You've seen it. The map. It's in your mind. Kylo wouldn't need the droid after all. He grabbed Rey and took her back toward the ship. I think we will leave off here, and then next time, the Resistance is there. All right, I hope you enjoyed this part of the story, and I will see you next time.